if you've never seen a mummy, you have one right at that point. They just shut up. Okay, that's the end of the story. But a number of people have been very straightforward and have given me samples, and that takes a tremendous amount of trust on their part, because they don't know me. They don't know that I'm not some rabid debunker who will take this data and try to embarrass them. I mean, they have taken an enormous leap of faith in me. But there are people out there that they want the answers. And so Ted Phillips, Frank Fascino, have enormous respect for these guys. And they've given me little things that try to help them with, and that data's theirs. It's just just as if I do biochemical consulting for a company, they own the data. I'm just processing that for them, and I give it to them. And at that point, I don't discuss it any further. But I think they'll be okay if I tell you that I've done things for them and tried to examine some samples. And there's no quitting these guys. They want the answers. Man, that's the spirit.
So if other investigators send you material, is that something that you're willing to help with?
It depends on the actual sample, because, for example, I don't have a lab where I can do genomic analysis. That's just the expenses beyond what I can do. As you mentioned before, it's out of your pocket. That's how it is for me, too. I cannot bootleg this stuff off of my federal grants, for example. That's not allowed. So I have to buy the reagents, purchase this or that, and keep them entirely separate. The school is generous. They allow me the use of their equipment and computing facilities and whatnot. So it kind of depends, and I'll help them to the maximum degree that I can. But there are some limitations. Lloyd Pye has run into those. He would like to sequence the Star Child skull.
But we've had Lloyd on the show, and I've known Lloyd for about 20 years, so...
and so he's run into the problem of he knows precisely what he would like to do, but getting it done is just really difficult. That's another man that I really respect his approach. But anyway, to get back to your question, I'll do what I can, and very happy to help. And sometimes it's just a question of looking at data and whatnot. Yeah, I can do that till the cows come home, no problem, and happy to do it.
Carol, I have a question for you. Why do you think, or Dr. Kokjohn, that's fine, Tyler, why do you think that we don't have these sort of things in place in universities where funding is available? I mean, what is it just the ridicule factor? Is it just, aliens, whatever?
That's a factor.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tyler.
The ridicule factor is definitely there. Just to come out from a practical aspect, as a young assistant professor, I'm expected to go out and bring in grants and contracts from, say, the federal government, preferably, to my school to fund my research. And those are available basically in mainstream issues, cancer research, for me, Alzheimer's research right now. Basically, that stuff is so much easier and infinitely safer than attempting to go out and attack just an extraordinarily difficult and ephemeral problem that is the UFO and abduction phenomenon. There's a mystery there. I can see it, but in terms of cold, hard practicality, that's a dangerous problem for me. And so that.
And what are the odds the university back you up on that?
0. Okay, and the reason is the second that I hate to keep bringing it back to money, but I work with a group at Banner Sun Health, and over the years we cobbled together grants. We can bring in millions. I drop that for something that has no funding and is considered fringe and out there. I'm done. Yeah. Okay, this will be tolerated as a sidelight, and let me be very clear: the university is quite, supportive because they do allow us to do educational outreach and whatnot. So talking about genetics, talking about data, how science is done, that fits in their bailiwick of what I should be doing as a professor. But if I drop the funded stuff, oh man, I'm going to hear about it.
Yeah, if you went and approached them and said, "Here's the deal. I want to gather samples from all over the world if we possibly can. I'll set it up. We'll have them sent to this location. All we need you guys to do is fund us so that we can do the research over, say, a 3-year period or a 2-year period. And good luck with that.
I'm thinking $1.5 million.
Okay, 1.5 million. Sure, that would help certainly with the scientific effort. And how do you think that would work out in your end? Would your job still be available the next day, or?
If there was external money coming in from a Lawrence Rockefeller or a Bob Bigelow, sure. Mm-hmm. Okay, they would tolerate a lot more of this kind of action. If I was basically dropping funded projects to pursue this entirely, I would have some difficulty. Let's put it this way. I would hear about it. I would be encouraged not to do that. We talk about the whole thing.
And possibly that difficulty might include you in a soup line.
Well, okay. I have tenure. Okay? And unless I do something really horrible, it's quite difficult to fire me, but they can make it so that I want to be in the soup line. Yeah. Okay? I mean, a lab space can be reassigned. I can be given 10,000 hours of teaching each quarter. And I don't mind teaching, but I don't want to have, 8 hours a day, every day of that. I'd like to have some time for research, too. So there are pressures that can be brought to bear. But I've reached a point in my career where I think you noticed or said in the bio, after a long absence, I've come back. I have a little bit of latitude now, and I kind of would like to have some impact in the field. And the school is generous enough to allow me that. And so, I'd say, hey, thanks for that part. So take what you get.
I want to throw this question at both of you. How do you think we can change the attitude and approach to this in a bigger way?
Without the use of clubs. Yeah. Or sharp instruments.
Sometimes my mentor, Alex Roher, has said several times that in just mainstream science, a lot of times the way things really change is that some people have to retire. And not wishing anybody ill, but sometimes for the paradigms to change and the field to change a little bit, we have to have fresh faces appear and get some new ideas. So what I would say is that one way to do that is to agitate for doing any kind of corroboration you can, and where you cannot corroborate, you have to start to think that maybe this hypothesis is a dead end and develop new ones. We've gotten really far down the pike, in my opinion, with very limited data. It's now time to pull back, assess what data we have, and make some hard decisions. So I'd say, we need to look at where we are in a hard and sometimes, I guess, cruel fashion, and act accordingly. And that's step one.
If I can add, too, I also think the leadership, the senior members of this community, need to step up to the plate and act like leaders. And if one of the researchers, even though he is a favorite son, I think they need to be able to call him on the carpet and ask him to stop what he's doing. If it's harmful to the subject, you can't go out and harm people psychologically or mentally, physically even, and continue to receive support. People in the field, and also individuals, people who are interested, people in the public, need to read material themselves. They need to read about hypnosis. They need to read about the suggestive context and the suggestive environment that people walk into. They're not walking in, as blank slates. They come with enormous baggage, each one of us does. And we need to sift through that and find out, what is a cultural dropping on us, and what is an actual experience, so that the public needs to be less credulous too.
Do you think we really have a chance, though, right now, the way things are?
I personally don't.
Pretty sad, then.
I will take the opposite tack and say that if people are willing to follow Carol's advice in particular, it will drive the field into a better position. In other words, less credulousness and more hard-headed, hey, what does this mean? What does that mean? I think we can hopefully be better off. But I'll just speak for myself. It's an astonishingly hard uphill battle. And
right.
There's so much emotion and so much investment. It will take a long time. And hopefully, maybe the inertia will be overcome. But I can't say, oh yeah, it's going to happen. I just don't know myself. I hope so.
Right.
Well, I always thought, a small group of real professionals could do more in a year than what this whole field has done for the last 50.
I liked your model, Tom. I thought that seemed like an excellent one.
Yeah. So if that were to put together
Tom,
at some point,
you spent so many years banging away at that, going broke, and having no life that you eventually just had to go.
Well, I at the same time, I never put myself, as a professional that I needed, that needed to be. When I call a professional, meaning that you have to have all the aspects of that particular team to be able to, take it right from the beginning and right to the end. We were laymen. That's all we are, and that's all we'll always be. We can go and dig around, ask questions, do that sort of thing, but that's just a very small portion of what needs to be done.
And I think a lot of times what happens is if you do, and you did have professional people involved, you had universities involved, you had access to their lab, but a great deal of that was, we'll do the work for you as long as you don't ever tell anybody we're doing it.